Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this extraordinary meeting of Council on Tuesday, the 6th of February 2024, here at the Euroa Conference Centre. We're back. I'm Peter Stevenson, Interim Administrator of Strathbogie Shire Council, and I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters, and we pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Today we're meeting on the lands of the Taungurung people of the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose sovereignty here has never been ceded. This public meeting is being streamed live via our website and made available for public access on our website, along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, and that includes personal or sensitive information to any person who accesses these recordings or minutes. In terms of governance principles, Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in Section 9(2) of the Local Government Act 2020. And these principles are numbered 1 to 9 on page 2 of the agenda. We welcome people in our public gallery, or the people who are in our public gallery, and also those viewing this meeting through our live stream via our website. This meeting is being held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules. If we have technical difficulties during today's meeting, which means we're unable to stream the proceedings to the public, we will continue with the meeting given the public gallery is open. If an officer has a conflict of interest in a matter, they will be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will commence until we are sure they have done so. That person will then be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. CEO Solomon, are there any apologies, leave of absence?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, there are no apologies for this evening.
And following that, are there any disclosures of conflicts of interest? No, great. Okay. Council has received a petition from Dean Hurlston, President of Council Watch Incorporated, which reads, "We, the undersigned, petition that Council should leave Australia Day alone. Australia Day means different things to many. It is still a day to be proud and acknowledge the sum of all Australians. It is also a day to acknowledge those who have served, fought and died under our flag." Now, I think that must have been a typo. He must have meant flag. Flag defending our freedoms. For some, Australia Day may be painful. We believe that the debate about Australia Day is not the role of local councils, who should be focused on local issues. We ask that Council leave Australia Day alone and hold community events that celebrate Australia Day, acknowledge Indigenous culture, mark Australia Day with citizenship ceremonies, and that petition comprises 13 pages of signatories from, I'm guessing, all across the state. I move that the petition is received and noted and carry thus. Now, public questions. There is one submitter of questions from the public for tonight's meeting, and that's Robin Weatherald of Euroa. Does Mr. Weatherald wish to read his questions? Okay. I might suggest that anyone who does wish to submit questions to the council might be well served to have someone proof them before submitting. It was quite difficult to understand what was actually being asked here, as the questions were not in proper sentences. Therefore, we had to fill in the gaps, if you like, including assuming that the questions relate to item 9.3.1 on the agenda. So we think you ask, given the importance of the subject item, the future, the viability and the existence of the Shire of Strathbogie is on the table. Will the administrator guarantee fair community involvement, fairer public consultation, fairer exposure of the economic future of Shire of Strathbogie? And that's followed by a comment, I find it alarming that this question is being rushed. Please explain why the rush. Why can you not fully disclose the full story and the facts? Does that cover your question? Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Okay, so a response here, and thank you for your questions relating to item 9.3.1 on tonight's agenda. I'll answer this in two parts. Firstly, I wish to reassure you and the community that while there are some significant infrastructure challenges facing the council, the Strathbogie Shire remains in a financially viable position. The Audit and Risk Committee and the Victorian Auditor General's Office also maintain strategic oversight on the financial viability of the council and have reported no concerns with me or, I believe, with the former councillors. The process for community engagement into the 2024-25 budget process will be no different to other years. Once the draft 2024-25 budget and financial statements, including the long-term financial plan, are presented to Council for consideration, it will be released for public consultation. In our continued efforts to encourage meaningful community participation in the development of our draft budget, Council will implement a comprehensive three-stage engagement process similar to what occurred last year. The community will be able to provide comments in the following way. During stage one of the engagement process, and if we look back to last year, Council launched the Pitch My Project initiative in December 2023. This initiative aimed to involve the community in every aspect of the draft budget's development, allowing them to provide valuable input. The same thing will occur. Moving on to stage two, Council developed a series of informative materials designed to communicate the details of the draft budget and fees and charges to our community. These materials were carefully crafted to ensure that individuals understood how they could contribute their opinions and suggestions. Written submissions could be lodged through Council's Share Strathbogie engagement page on our website. Recognising the importance of accommodating those without internet access, Council also continued to accept email and hard copy written submissions to provide an avenue for participation to all members of the community. We will also engage with members of our community panel to seek their input again this year. And stage three of the engagement program will be closing the loop with the community to inform them how their feedback was used to inform the final 24-25 budget. Further to this budget engagement, I will be commencing a series of talk to the administrator forums where community members can book a time to meet with me in person to ask any burning questions or discuss any concerns or issues they may have. I'll be making myself available in townships across the municipality, commencing in Avenel next Tuesday. Okay, in terms of item 9.3.1, getting to the second part of the question, 9.3.1 tender for contract number 23/24-26, consultant to provide detailed options and desired civic accommodation and outdoor operations. That's a mouthful. You will recall that Council prioritised the civic accommodation options as a priority and funded this feasibility and option study in the 2023-24 budget. Council acknowledges the growing population in Avenel and the Gambie to better serve the community, Shire and stakeholders, and signalling the timeliness of addressing the inadequacies of the current facilities that do not meet current building or OH&S standards. So this allocation was clearly identified in the draft 2023-24 budget that was released for public consultation. Councillors and officers remain open, well, councillors, me, the council and officers remain open and transparent. And I don't believe that there's a rush to this project, given there's a clear mandate for council from council for officers to proceed with this budget of work and completed in this financial year. And of course, I note the questioner was part of the council which approved this. So that's the end of the questions, and we now move to officer reports. And over to item 9.2.1, event grant. Sorry, it's 8 points. Right. It's 9. Yeah. Typo. Yeah. 9.2.1, event grant applications received. Avenel Active Incorporated and the Nagambie Lake Sailing Club. Director Frampton, may we have a summary of this report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Council adopted a community funding model that incorporated event grants. Event grants provide up to $5,000 to eligible organisations and associations for events that align with the objectives of the Council Plan 21-2025, submitted in line with our event guidelines. Council has received 2 event grant applications for Council's consideration. The first application was received from Avenel Active Incorporated and is to support the delivery of the Nagambie Lake Park Run, or the establishment of the Nagambie Lake Park Run, commencing from Saturday the 6th of April, and will then be delivered each Saturday thereafter. The Nagambie Lake Park Run covers a 5-kilometre course and travels across the newly installed Nagambie Boardwalk, enabling Nagambie, Avenel and regional residents and visitors to participate in exercise in a safe, natural environment. Avenel Active Incorporated have applied for a total of $5,000 to cover the cost of licensing and equipment. The second application was received from Nagambie Lake Sailing Club Incorporated to support the delivery of sailing activities during the Nagambie On Water Festival, to be held in February this year. The club will host a sailing event as part of the festival, which will include coaching sessions for club members and sailing opportunities for the broader public. In addition, there'll be a number of sessions facilitated by Australian Sailing or Smooth Sailing School, as well as the Shepparton Sailability Club throughout the month of March. The funds have been requested to cover the cost of facilitation and delivery by Australian Sailing. Both events will result in several significant social and economic benefits to the Strathbogie Shire community and will be delivered in line with Council's events and regulatory policies and procedures. Council has a budget allocated to the event grants under the Community Funding Model 2023-24 budget. All applications have been submitted in line with our guidelines and have been assessed in accordance with these. The current applications are of an acceptable standard and officers are recommending them for funding. You will find the officer recommendations printed for you on page 6 for your consideration.
Thank you, Director Frampton. I do note that these applications do tick off or do meet, if you like, multiple strategic focus areas of the council plan, which is great. And I note too that both organisations are providing significant co-contribution to add to the grant to make their events happen. They look good, and for that reason, I'll move that the recommendation becomes a resolution and is thus carried. Thanks, Director Frampton. Okay. Tender for contract 9.3.1, tender for contract number 23/24-26, consultant to provide detailed options and design civic accommodation and outdoor operations. Director Harvey, could you please give us a summary of that report?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Just to add a little bit more to the answer to your question, I'll summarise quickly even further the executive summary of what the report's about. The Strathbogie Council recognises the imperative to enhance its civic presence and administrative capability to meet the evolving needs of the community. The scope of this tender encompasses a thorough examination of the existing civic centre, the library service in Nagambie, operational depots in Yarara and Nagambie, and the smaller satellite towns of Avenel, Violetown and Strathbogie. It aims to deliver location options and preliminary designs, including indicative costings for further examination. It's critical to note that any subsequent works resulting from this feasibility study are contingent on securing funding and grant applications for their implementation. This tender is only to do the investigation of what it could, to provide a couple of options for the council to consider in future date. Through the public advertisement of this procurement, council invited tenders for the contract number 23/24-26 between the 3rd of the 11th, 2023 and the 6th of the 12th, 2023, and it closed. At closing, we had 8 tender submissions received. This report that you are now considering with recommendations on page 12 and on page 13 is the officer's recommendations in regards to the awarding of that tender consideration and a tender process.
Thanks for that, Director Harvey. To reiterate some of what I said in response to the question earlier and some of what you said, this study is sorely needed. When we look at what happened just a month ago, or perhaps a little bit more than a month ago, and this building was out of action. This room was out of action because of water entering through the roof. There's probably not a room in this whole building you can walk where you don't have some trepidation that you may fall through the floor, to be honest. So this is just this building. And I've been getting progressively around the Shire and looking at our other infrastructure. And, I guess we've got to get a handle on how it all is, how it all, its longevity, its suitability, its repairability. And if things aren't repairable and able to be remediated to provide the accommodation that the Shire needs for its civic and community functions, then we've got to look long term about what replaces some of those things. So this is not a preempt that anything will happen other than we'll know what's required, and it'll no doubt be up to others later to determine what kind of funding's put to those designs or to that plan to get it done. But if we don't do the planning work now and the understanding of where we sit, we'll have another storm and another storm, and the building will be inoperable before we even get off the ground. And it's really important that the Shire's assets can continue to be used, and their community assets as well. They've got imagine if we were lucky, I suppose the cinema wasn't out of action at the same time as this room. At least with school holidays and people were still coming into the cinema. So these civic accommodation, civic buildings are community buildings, and we've got to find a way to maintain them and keep the needs of the community in mind as we look to the future about what those future assets are going to look like. And I'm sure I probably won't see it, and there will be a few of us around the table that won't see it, won't see what occurs. But this is a great start, and what do they say? If you don't plan, or if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So this is the plan. This is the plan, or this is getting the underpinnings of a plan. If we don't know what's wrong, we can't then put a plan in place to fix it. So I wholeheartedly endorse the recommendation, and as such, I move the recommendation becomes a resolution and is carried. Thanks, Director Harvey. You back up with 9.3.2, tender for contract 23/24 23/24-38, Nagambie-Loxley Road Bridge and road reconstruction at Charles Street, Loxley, Stage 1. Director Harvey, may you please provide a summary of this report?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Again, I leave the report as submitted as read, and provide just a quick briefing of a further summary of the report. Some of our listeners may recall, in fact yourself, Chair, may recall the discussions on the advertising of the Loxley Road Bridge over Charles Street just recently. This report reports on the evaluation of the tenders received for that piece of infrastructure to be replaced. The bridge over Charles Street on the Nagambie-Loxley Road, situated approximately 12 kilometres from Nagambie, is currently inadequate in terms of capacity to carry the loads of today, and has some safety concerns exacerbated by the compromised road alignment. This contract is stage 1, for which the majority of these issues will be resolved. The tender documentation for stage 1 was prepared in the final quarter of 2023 through public advertisement. Council invited tenders such that they closed at 4 p.m. on the 22nd of December, just before the Christmas breakup. And we appreciate the calling of this additional meeting to consider this award such that we can implement its delivery as quickly as practicable, subject to the recommendation being considered appropriate. I leave it there for you to consider the report and the recommendation on page 22 for your consideration.
Yeah. Good. Thanks for that, Director Harvey. Could you talk about road closures during the period of reconstruction and any detours that may be in place?
As we know, the reconstruction of a total reconstruction of a bridge, of which this project is requiring, the strengthening of the existing structure wasn't an option because of the alignment, unfortunately, and the improvements that we wanted to do, and in fact, principally the structure of the bridge. So therefore, we have to remove the existing structure and reconstruct a new bridge beside the existing structure. Unfortunately, because of the deep channel related to the structure, we can't provide a temporary river crossing without substantially impacting further on the native vegetation that's required to be removed. And consequently, we will have to implement a detour. This detour will be established over a sealed road network. It more than likely will go through Avenel and go back through that direction. So it will add a reasonable distance to the people's travel between Nagambie and Loxley. However, we consider for the short duration that it will occur, and yes, short duration being months, not weeks, it's the only option that we've got without substantial increased environmental risks and, in fact, the placing safety of the travelling public at risk, greater risk, by putting in some temporary structure like a Bailey Bridge or something to that effect, that would significantly increase the cost of this replacement.
Thank you for that, Director Harvey. I do note I travelled on the road a fortnight ago coming back from Nagambie, and it does save quite a bit of journey for a out-of-towner who would previously go back to the freeway down lower. But it was evident on that trip back that the works were required. And particularly when when I did have some quite large vehicles going past me, I thought, yes, I'd look forward to travelling this road when it has been, the works have been completed, that bridge has been widened, and the realignment done. Because I think I'd not only enjoy the shortcut, but I appreciate the safety a little more when it's done. I do note also that that this tender was actually put out to the public during the time of the previous council. So we're just, we're just adopting tonight, as you pointed out, Director Harvey, and so we're closing off part of that work that has begun before, and the next step is actually to get the physical work done. So with that said, I'm happy with the recommendation, so I move that the recommendation becomes a resolution and as such is carried. The next meeting of the Strathbogie Shire Council will be the ordinary meeting, which will be held 2 weeks from now on Tuesday, the 20th of February 2024, here at the Euroa Community Conference Centre. That's the plan, weather be willing. There being no further business, the meeting closed at, I don't trust that, 6:26. Thank you very much. Thank you.